the story of this crack cocaine stuff. So they made Freeway Rick Ross the face of it, right? In addition to this information from this source, you all know how I like to connect the dots with other information. I've talked to you many occasions before about this 414-page book, Understand the Assault on the Black Man, that you can get at NOI.org. The link, I'm sure, will be in the chat. I love this section on page 299 where it specifically says, do y'all see what it says here? Let me get it close. What does this section say? Can you see that? It specifically says Rick Ross did not introduce crack. Talk black to me. One of Blandone's men, obviously this is in the middle of a chapter, but listen. One of Blandone's men, Nicaraguan exile, Ivan A., I'm just going to say his last name, Ivan A., was supplying cocaine to local skills center teacher in Venice who hustled the powder white on the side. That teacher had a young mentee named Rick Ross, a one-time aspiring tennis player whose illiteracy cut his dream short. Did you all know that he was a very good tennis player, Rick Ross? That's just a side note. Watch this. Eventually, he will initiate young Ross into the drug trade, with Blandone covertly watching Ross from afar. Soon, all middlemen would be cut out, and Ross would get his cocaine directly from Blandone. By 1983, Blandone was supplying Ross with over 100 kilos of CIA-protected cocaine per week, which converted into 3 million of crack sold per day. Y'all listen. Ross did not introduce crack to Los Angeles. Ronald Siegel's smokable freebase mysteriously found Ross. He puts found Ross in italics. At first, Ross was slowly selling his high-priced cocaine to only about 15 moneyed customers a day who came to the hood from the suburbs. Y'all, please listen. Who came? I hope y'all caught that. At first, Ross was slowly selling his high-priced cocaine to, what did I say? To only about 15 moneyed customers a day who came to the hood from the suburbs. This was personally profitable for Ross, but not sufficient to fund a Latin American war. Y'all know I'm just trying to connect the dots. Terrence said, wow, with about 15 to 30 O's and W's. What did I say? I said this was personally profitable for Ross, but not sufficient to fund a Latin American war. Did you all catch the beginning of my show when I was talking about the Iran-Contra scandal? Y'all listen. Thumbs up, family. Share, share, share. You're tuned in to an early edition of The Vicky Show. Let me clear my throat for 1 second. Listen. This is another reason I told you we're not going to back down when it comes down to reparations. It was personally profitable for Ross, but not sufficient to fund the Latin American war. But few people actually in the hood could afford Ross's cocaine. Did y'all hear what I said? Few people in the hood could even afford Ross's cocaine. Then out of the blue, remarkably, cheap cocaine, quote unquote, rocks started popping up among some of Ross's customers. No one really knows where the new form of cocaine came from. Ross and the other dealers were suspicious of it and were having nothing to do with it. Quote, nobody wanted to mess with cocaine that didn't look like cocaine, and the price was too low. How could anything claiming to be cocaine cost only $25? It had to be a ripoff. So we know that it was not the black dealers who introduced crack to Los Angeles scene. What I got in chemistry in school, Ross asked Webb, an F. And he was among the more brilliant of the hood dealers. Tootie Reese, a South Central drug dealer of the 1960s and 1970s, mainly heroin and marijuana, says he first encountered crack in 1976. Did y'all hear what he said? He first encountered crack in 1976 when he was visiting a friend in the Bay Area. His friend had learned the mechanics of converting powder cocaine into crack from chemists, white guys at Cal Berkeley. Somebody just said, I love this history. Did y'all hear what I said? White guys at Cal Berkeley. These white guys taught Tootie and his friend how to substitute baking soda for ether, the hood way of making freebase. How many times have I told you guys that your open enemy weaponizes everything, including science? How many times have I told you guys that the reason why that they don't want you to be interested in the STEM subjects, STEM, short for the acronyms for what? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The reason they make it so cumbersome, the reason why they watch you closely to see how well you do in those subjects, and they turn around and intentionally derail you, is because you might bump into the secrets of chemistry. You may bump into the secrets of these sciences that they are making war with us against. How many times have I told you they weaponize everything? Which is why I said it's your job to make sure that you teach your babies. Which is why I told you there are other things that you can do to nurture their brilliance. It's not by accident, family. None of this. Thumbs up, family. Share, share, share. Today's brief war briefing. You better say that again. Cut the check. We're talking about cut the check, but I'm also exposing and reminding you of what's really going down. Listen to this. Listen to this. White guys at Cal Berkeley, right? These whites taught Tootie and his friend how to substitute baking soda for ether, the hood way of making freebase. Back in Los Angeles, the rocks just started appearing among Ross's customers. Then one day, one of Ross's customers came to him, or was sent to him. And asked Ross if he had any rock to sell. Ross finally bit. Because he could not make crack himself, he paid outsiders to do so. The rest is history. As Webb states, and I'm quoting Webb now. You can get it at Dark Alliance, by the way. Get that book, Dark Alliance. That piece, Dark Alliance. What happened next was just what the scientists had been predicting since 1974. As coca paste, a base, had done in Lima and La Paz 8 years earlier, rock caused a sensation in South Central. A 1985 study by two University of South California's social scientists provides some of the only existing documentation of crack's progression in South Central in the early 1980s, where Ross and others began selling it. It is like reading the origin of Black Death. I don't want you to look what the headline says now. What does that headline at the bottom says now that I'm getting ready to read the next page? What does that headline say? Y'all see it there? What does that headline say? Black people were specifically and exclusively targeted again. And we ain't talking about the 1960s, family. Y'all better listen. In 1984, Blandon, and I hope I'm saying his name right, Meneses paid a visit to a San Francisco cocaine dealer named Rafael Cornejo, a longtime cocaine wholesaler for Meneses. Am I pronouncing his name right? They met at Cornejos commercial building. He recounted to Gary Webb, quote, Blandon starts telling me he'd been doing lots of things with the black people down here in LA. He said I should get into the black thing. No one, quote, this is a quote now, no one cares about them, he tells me. When they start killing themselves, no one cares. Webb reflects, Blandon's own experience had taught him that no one cared about the cocaine that he was pouring into South Central in 1984. By then, he'd been dealing ever-increasing amounts to Ricky Ross for 2 years and received no interference from police whatsoever. I ain't gonna say what all I know. I would be a fool to do so. But when I was in the belly of the beast, and I was locked up with for real criminals in federal prison, one of them was a dope pusher, a female dope pusher. Her connect was law enforcement. That's all I'm gonna say on that. And she was in the belly of the beast. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Listen. He'd been doing it for a couple of years. Did I just say that? And received no interference from the police whatsoever. The only media in LA that seemed alarmed by the spread of crack in the black neighborhoods was the African American press. The white newspapers didn't even know what crack was. The Blandon Ross drug empire was at its zenith in 1984 to 85, but they were unobstructed by law enforcement of any kind. Blandon and Ross had one long cop-free party. That's a quote. Because this drug operation that targeted black people was federally protected. With all of this crack cocaine, y'all know this is for intelligent black people. Y'all gonna listen to me. Because this drug operation that targeted black people was federally protected, with all of this crack cocaine moving in the hood and all the military grade weapons proliferating. Did y'all catch that connection? The police almost totally stood down, giving Ross's mammoth crack operation free rein. The LAPD didn't mess with us at all, Ross says. Not because the police driving around the hood were unaware. Police would stop the dealers, handcuff them, find the crack, and then let the dealers go, we were told. Are y'all listening to what I just said? I don't think you heard me right. Ross, this is a quote. The LAPD didn't mess with us at all. That was the quote. Not because the police driving around the hood were unaware. Police would stop the dealers, handcuff them, find the crack, and then let the dealers go, we were told. Fed by an unending supply of cocaine from Danilo Blandon, Ricky Ross's crack trafficking organization, prospered and grew unhindered by law enforcement in the ghettos of Los Angeles. On July 2nd, 1990, drug dealer and San Diego DEA informant John Aram wore an undercover wire, and together with the DEA agent Judy Gustafson, met with Blandon at the lobster restaurant Old Bonta Store. But y'all know about that place called Old Bonta Store? Called on undercover DEA tapes in Blandon's talking shop with fellow drug dealer Armand, trying to convince Armand to sell his weight to Blandon's buyers. Here's the transcript. Armand, it ain't the Japanese guy you were telling me about. Blandon, no, it's not him. These buyers are the black people. Did y'all catch that first question from Armand? It ain't the Japanese guy you were telling me about. It ain't the Japanese. I'm trying to tell you other people groups that were interconnected to this. It was other countries, Nicaragua, other countries, Iran. But here, even in the transcript, I'm not emphasizing this because Dr. Wesley didn't emphasize this here. I'm emphasizing it. Beverly said, love you, Vicky. I love you back. Nancy said, speak, Vicky. You know what I'm going to do. Y'all better listen. We're talking about the Colombians. We're talking about the Mexican infiltration and illegal immigration interconnection, but I'm breaking some things down. Aside from what I'm reading to you from the book, the main reason I like this book, y'all, is not because of this book. It's because of the overwhelming number of receipts that you can follow up with, books, articles, and essays that make the point. This book is like 1,000 books because it leads on a rabbit trail to where I can go find other information. But I was actually given some information by a source, and I'm the one that decided to connect it with this because the source is telling me that this whole thing related to the Colombians and the Mexicans. And then I asked the question, which seemed like just a necessary question. Do you believe that this is the reason why illegal immigration has gone crazy and why they've allowed it to do what it's doing there? Because it's undermining Black people. And the information that I was given by this source makes me to know there is some legitimacy in my thinking. Talk Black to me. Thumbs up, family. Now, I need you to listen. I'm reading to you the direct transcript, an excerpt from the transcript of this part. Thank you. My moderator said the links are in the chat. Rewind if need be. Yes, family. So when you miss something, you are able to go live and rewind it. Come on, y'all. We're intelligent Black people now. I'm giving you the information. I'm just dropping receipts, and I'm just dropping nuggets enough for you to go run and do whatever you need to do. Watch. I'm going to say this again. Our main quote, it ain't the Japanese guy you were telling me about. Today, we're talking about certain elements of illegal immigration that undermines Black people. But family, who did Congress just overwhelmingly give rights to in breakneck speed time that was signed off overwhelmingly by both, not just Democrats, but Republicans?